No kobo of the company fund is being used to subsidize premium motor spirits through any backdoor. Those circulating these publications are conflating two entirely separate concepts in order to mislead the public and score cheap political points. The call is baseless, economically illiterate, and fundamentally unfair to a man whose leadership has brought unprecedented transparency and profitability to an institution that was once a byword of opacity. Under engineer Ojulari stewardship, NNPCL has become one of the most transparent public institutions in Nigeria. For the first time in 46 years history, the company published audited financial statement that declared a profit. The 2024 audited financial statement released in 2025 showed a profit after tax of 3.297 trillion naira. And that document was placed in the public domain for all to scrutinize. The 2024 financial record, which the publication selectively quotes, show that the company sustained its profitability, recording a profit after tax exceeding 2.5 trillion naira, despite challenging global energy market conditions. These are not hidden documents. They are available on the company's website. They carry the signature of external auditors of international standing. Let's watch for Good Governance press conference. It's a press conference based on the baseless call for the resignation of the group chief executive officer of NNPCL, engineer Bayo, Ojulari, gentlemen of the press, distinguished stakeholders, fellow Nigerians, good afternoon. We've called this press conference to address the matter of grave concern to anyone who follows the fortunes of our national oil company and the remarkable turnaround it has recovered and recorded in recent years. It centers around a publication circulating in the media within the public asking the group chief executive officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Engineer Bayo Ojulari, to resign over what is described as OPEC security spending. We are here today to state categorically that the call is baseless, economically illiterate, and fundamentally unfair to a man whose leadership has brought unprecedented transparency and profitability to an institution that was once a byword of opacity. We will take the allegations one after the other and demonstrate with facts and figures why the GCO deserves commendation and not condemnation. We also make it clear that the authors of that publications are either profoundly ignorant of how energy security is financed and accounted for, or they're acting as fronts for interests that profited from the old discredited order and now wish to return the industry to darkness. Understanding the security expenditure. The publication claims that a sum of approximately 7.13 trillion described as energy security and pipeline protection expenses in the company's 2024 financial records represent a blanket description under which every expenditure is concealed from public scrutiny. That statement is false and deliberately misleading. The NNPCL does not wake up one morning and decide to spend 7.13 trillion on a vague line item. Energy security and pipeline protection is a comprehensive, multi-year national security operation designed to defeat the industrial-scale theft of crude oil, the vandalism of critical transport infrastructure, and the illegal refining that for decades bled the nation and poisoned the Niger Delta environment. This expenditure is not a single contract awarded to one faceless contractor. It is a coordinated program that encompasses aerial and maritime surveillance, the deployment of advanced leak detection and fiber optic sensing technologies, community-based intelligence gathering, logistics support for the security forces, and the rehabilitation of thousands of kilometers of pipeline that had become riddled with illegal connections. We have the figures to show what this investment has delivered. From the current security architecture was fully developed, Nigeria's crude oil production had collapsed to as low as 900,000 barrels per day in 2022. Today, thanks to the consistent funding of these security measures, daily production has been restored to an average of 1.5 million barrels per day in 2024 and has consistently surpasses 1.6 million barrels per day in recent months. Inclusive of condensates, this is an addition of roughly 600,000 barrels per day at an oil average price of $80 per barrel. The additional 600,000 barrels per day translate to approximately $48 million in additional daily revenue for the Federation, over $70 billion a year. When you compare that revenue uplift to the security expenditure being criticized, the return on investment is several multiples in a single year alone. Furthermore, the security operations have led to the deactivation of more than 6,000 illegal refineries, the recovery of hundreds of millions of liters of stolen crude refined products, and the dismantling of thousands of illegal pipeline connections. These are measurable outcomes. They are documented in the monthly reports that the NNPCL publish on its website. The insinuation that there are no comprehensive disclosure is therefore a piece of fiction. Anyone who has taken the trouble to visit the company's website or attend the National Assembly oversight sessions knows that detailed briefings have been provided repeatedly. Transparency and accountability records. The statement being circulated asserts that the leadership of Engineer Bayo, Ojulari, has become synonymous with secrecy, weak accountability, and growing public distrust. This is a direct contradiction of the variable record. Under Engineer Ojulari stewardship, NNPCL has become one of the most transparent public institutions in Nigeria. For the first time in 46 years history, the company published audited financial statement that declared a profit. The 2024 audited financial statement released in 2025 showed a profit after tax of 3.297 trillion naira, and that document was placed in the public domain for all to scrutinize. The 2024 financial record, which the publication selectively quotes, show that the company sustained its profitability, recording a profit after tax exceeding 2.5 trillion naira, despite challenging global energy market conditions. These are not hidden documents. They are available on the company's website. They carry the signature of external auditors of international standing. They comply fully with the disclosure requirement of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 and the Company and Allied Matters Act. In addition to publishing its audited accounts, the NNPC now release monthly financial and operational reports that establish a transparency portal where procurement records, contract awards, and beneficiary details are uploaded. All contracts for security services, like all other contracts, undergo rigorous procurement process prescribed by the Public Procurement Act and the NNPC Procurement Manual. The identity of the contractors engaged for pipeline protection is a matter of public record. What greater openness can a state-owned enterprise offer than to submit itself voluntarily to legislative scrutiny and independent audits? The suggestion that the expedition represents a backdoor subsidy is a fundamental misunderstanding of what a subsidy is. A subsidy is a price differential that government pays to keep pump price artificially low. The 7.13 trillion naira security spending has nothing to do with the price of petrol at the pump. It is investment in asset protection and national security. The first subsidy, as Nigeria knows, was removed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in May 2023. And the GCO has been the most uncompromising implementer of that policy. No kobo of the company fund is being used to subsidize premium motor spirits through any backdoor. Those circulating these publications are conflating two entirely separate concepts in order to mislead the public and score cheap political points. Now, to emphasize on the character of the GCO, Engineer Bashir Bayo Ojulari background. He is a man of unimpeachable integrity, a stickler for process, and a leader who has dedicated over 3 decades to building a career of transparency and results. Prior to his appointment as GCEO of NNPCL, he was the managing director of Shell Exploration and Production Limited and chief operating officer of Renaissance Africa, an energy company he helped to birth. Mr. Ojulari is also a firm and unshakable believer in the renewable hope agenda of President Tinubu. He has publicly and privately stated the reforms in the petroleum sector, the removal of fuel subsidy, the liberalization of the downstream sector, and there's therefore no circumstance under which he will tolerate, let alone introduce, any mechanism that amounts to a reversal of those reforms of a national energy company he has been given a clear mandate to transform by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The very idea that he would sabotage the President's agenda is preposterous. His performance is the single most powerful vindication of the President's petroleum sector policy. A call for presidential support and public confidence. We therefore call on His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to disregard completely the ill-informed and mischievous demand for the resignation of GCO that has appeared in this publication. This call did not emanate from a place of patriotic concern. It emanates from aggrieved rent seekers who profited from the decades of opacity that Engineer Ojulari is dismantling. They see a man who has posted profits, published accounts, and broken the cartel that once fed on the national wealth. And their instinct is to pull him down. President Tinubu must continue to give his full support to the NNPCL under the leadership of the board led by engineer Amadou Musa Kida and the NNPCL headed by engineer Bashir Bayo Ojulari. The support is essential for the stability of this energy sector and for the confidence of the international investment community that is watching Nigeria's reform trajectory with keen interest. To the board and management of NNPCL and to the GCO, we declare full, unwavering, and unqualified support. We recognize the enormity of the task you have undertaken. We appreciate the complex of security nearly 5,000 kilometers of pipeline network across difficult terrain and a challenging security environment. We applaud the transformation of NNPCL from a chronic loss maker to a dividend-paying commercial entity. We stand with you, not just in words, but with evidence of figures and audited reports that any well-meaning Nigeria can examine. To the National Assembly, we restate our call for the Joint Investigative Panel to conclude its work expeditiously. We are confident that when the final report is made public, it will confirm what we already know, that these expenditures are properly incurred, competitively awarded, and yielding measurable value for the Nigerian people. Speeding up the process is the only way to put an end to the kind of reckless and unfounded allegation we have witnessed in the last 24 hours. Finally, to the Nigerian public, we say this. You have lived through decades in which the NNPCL was a black box. Profits were unheard of. Subsidy payments were infinite. Accountability was zero. What you are seeing now is the first sustained chapter of openness. Profit declared, account audited, contract disclosed, production rising. The noise you hear from certain quarters is the sound of a dying old order fighting to regain relevance. Do not be deceived. We are convinced that the history will be kind to the current board and management of NNPCL, and indeed, Engineer Bashir Bayo Ojulari. He is the right man at the right time, doing the right thing for the Nigeria oil and gas industry. And he has our full and unshakable support. Thank you all for listening.